The Reedy, Set, Grow podcast with Trish Reedy.
Welcome to Reedy, Set, Grow, the podcast that inspires you to grow into the person you're meant to be. I'm your host, Trish Reedy, and I am so excited today to have our guest, Anna Sarol, join us from down the road in Olathe. Anna, thanks for coming.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited for the conversation we're about to have.
Yeah, obviously Anna's not here in person. We're talking via Zoom because that's what you do in 2020, right? Anna, tell us a little bit about yourself and kind of what your inspiring story is, because I know a little bit about it, but our listeners don't.
Yes, I'd love to. So my name is Anna Sarol. I am 20 years old today, actually, and I'm here, born and raised in Kansas, and around age 14, I endured a spinal cord injury in gymnastics practice. I was a gymnast my entire life, training for the Olympics, and then just one day in practice, I got hurt pretty bad, and it left me with a paralysis that changed my life forever.
Wow. Wow. And yet you're still smiling. Most people would not have this bubbly, fantastic personality. That's amazing. So
yes,
you started to tell me a little bit before. Tell me about your injury. Tell me what happened.
So on August 20th, 2015, I was on my way to gymnastics practice. It was a normal day. This was about 4 days after my high school started, or freshman year started. And we were doing practice just like normal. We were rotating events, and then we were rotating with groups based off our levels and our difficulties with the sport. And then I got to the bar rotation, and I remember gripping up, putting my grips on, putting chalk on, and then I was about ready to do my normal warm-up routine. And so that consists of, in like gymnastics terminology, getting up on top of the low bar and then jumping to the high bar from there, and then just doing a few swings, following a dismount. Just like a short, little, simple routine that I've
something that I have always dreamed of being able to do. Watching the Olympics,
Right.
They make it look so easy. There's no way I can barely do a cartwheel.
Yeah, and bars is definitely an interesting event. But that day, I remember I was doing my swings on the high bar, and I felt like I had a lot of power going into with my hands, and I felt like my grip wasn't strong enough to hold my entire body weight with the amount of power that I had that day. And seconds later, my hands peeled off the bar, and when I landed, so there's wrestling mats that surround the bar for extra safety reasons, and then there's a landing mat on the opposite side of the high bar. And that's typically 8 inches tall. And so it's just to protect our landing, protect our feet, and get ready for that like immense power going from your dismount.
Right.
And so when I landed, or when I peeled off the bar, I was coming down from the bar, and my lower part of my body was on the landing mat, and half of it was on the wrestling mats. So that 8-inch difference is what instantly paralyzed me right in the spine. So that's kind of how it is kind of like, it was pretty crazy, because there was definitely times where I felt like it was a movie, and I felt like I was in a different gymnast body, and I could see myself falling. It was definitely one of those like slow, like life flash before my eyes. And I know that I've got a little unconscious for a second. It wasn't for a long, which was good, because I didn't get any kind of brain injury, because that could have definitely occurred. And I'm just very grateful that that didn't happen. But yeah, so that kind of just, ever since that day and ever since that happened, it's definitely changed everything of my life.
Now, did you know instantly that something was really wrong? Or did you think, oh, I'm going to get up and be fine?
Right. The second I kind of woke up and I saw my coaches and everyone surrounding me, and everyone was like, looked concerned. But I also noticed that like I couldn't feel like right away. I lost all sense of like sensory and motor skills. I looked down my legs. I was trying to move it, because in our minds, like as gymnasts and as athletes growing up, where if we fall, we get back up and we do the routine.
Right.
So my mindset was like, okay, what am I doing? Laying down still, like get up. And when my body wasn't like properly coordinating with me, I was concerned. And I remember them calling the paramedics. They called my mom. My mom's a nurse practitioner, so she knew what exactly happened. Like the second that they told her that I wasn't feeling anything, and that I think at first I thought I was feeling like tingling and everything, but the second that they explained the situation to her, she knew what her child had just gone through. And so I could hear her on the phone, like she's yelling and she's like, just really very concerned, as any mother would be. They called the paramedics came, and I distinctly remember one of the paramedics came up to me and she's like, whatever you do, do not move your legs. And that second that she told me to not move my legs, I tried all my power that I can to look down my legs and try to move them. Because I was like, if I'm going to know what I'm getting into, I need to know the seriousness and what my life is going to look like from here on out. And so I remember I looked down at my legs and I tried with all my heart to move, even just like a toe or just even a leg, because I didn't know what paralysis was like. And I was like 14, so I never thought that this would happen to me. But they put me on the stretcher. They took me to the ambulance and they drove me to Overland Park Regional. And that's where I did some CAT scans and my family met me. And then they flight me to Children's Mercy downtown so that I can get more scans in an MRI and to know the seriousness of this injury. But yeah, so it's been a crazy ride.
That's a lot to take in. And I can't imagine as a 14-year-old trying to process all that.
Yeah.
I mean, your life changes. You have these plans, right? You're going to the Olympics, you're training, you've got this goal. And and it sounds to me like goals haven't really escaped you. You still have lots of them. They've just changed.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
Tell me a little bit about that.
So, losing all sense of normalcy that second, I knew that I had to change, like what my life was going to look like. A lot of people told me, or not told me, but I knew that they were thinking that this was going to send me back and that I wasn't going to live to my full potential. And this is something that I really strongly talk about, because we are still, I am still Anna, and I will live my full life the way that I was supposed to and the way that I'm going to. So just being able to kind of adapt to the world that's not adapted to me anymore.
Right.
Like I had to change my entire timeline of my life. I didn't know what my life was going to look like from there on out, but I knew that my mindset was everything. And if I were to fall short on that, then I wouldn't have been where I am today. Currently, I am doing motivational speaking. I'm talking to different schools, different churches, Rotary clubs, different businesses. I talk like a whole branch of different subjects, but most of them I really advocate for change, especially accessibility. That's something that a lot of people don't really necessarily have a good understanding of what a fully accessible world is, and that's not where we are today.
Right.
I also talk about just like clinical trials, this whole like rehab and this whole intense rehabilitation of going through such a serious injury. And I mention just everyday life as a wheelchair user, because you see the process of like going through rehab, but what does this look like from an everyday aspect? How is this going to change? And occupational, what does cooking look like in the kitchen? What does it mean like to go out in public by yourself and grab groceries, putting it in your car? How do you drive? And all that. So right now I am in college. I'm kind of just working on maybe pursuing a nursing degree. That's definitely something that I've always wanted to do, especially because I don't see a lot of representation of people in wheelchairs who are nurses, who are doctors, psychologists. And so being able to have that kind of change and show them that as a wheelchair user, we can still care for others. Right. So that's definitely one of the goals. I'm also just doing a lot with social media, trying to spread awareness there, and then just talking about different topics such as like pressure sores as a wheelchair user, going around and kayaking, how to transfer from low surfaces to high surfaces, workout videos and adaptive athletes, all these kind of topics, just really trying to key in and show people the kind of community we are building as wheelchair users, as spinal cord injuries. But yeah, so that's kind of what I've been doing right now. And then just being able to change this perception of life as a wheelchair.
So what do you think is one thing that most people are just ignorant about when it comes to your life as someone that's paralyzed?
Yeah, that's a great question. That's something that I really, really think about, because how do I approach these different things coming from a different perspective? And that's one thing that I really like, is that something that's really unique to this injury is that I knew what life was like able-bodied. Right. You know, so I know both perspectives of being disabled and having a life where I was walking and totally normal, nothing medically wrong. So I think one of the biggest misconceptions is that we can't live an independent life. A lot, they think that we rely so much on other people's help, and just being able to have a normal life, as such as, you know, living by yourself and then doing things by yourself, opening doors. I know a lot of people, they obviously have that kind of like sympathy aspect, and then if they see like me in public opening a door, they want to rush to the door and open that for me. And I really love that, because it's coming from their heart, and I know that they mean good intentions, but sometimes it's nice to just not always have someone to just help you constantly, because we were, you know, in the hospital for so long, we were relying on so many people. And then just having our everyday life, it was nice to just have that kind of sense of independency that we could have back. Right.
Yeah. Maybe I can't use my legs, but I can use everything else.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's awesome.
It's definitely like a psychological thing as well.
Yeah, for sure. So my next question is, tell me something that you miss and then something that is better now. Like, you know, like question. Obviously your life has changed a lot, and you've clearly adapted to it well because you're thriving, but there's got to be something that you miss.
Oh man, that's a great question. Something that I miss, I always get this question of, if you had one day with your legs back and able and working, what would you do with it? And one thing that I usually do when I answer this question is that I would love to go back and just do gymnastics. I miss the sport, and just having that taken away from me, just like my ability to walk, it was hard. And that was definitely one of the like hardest things. But yeah, I would definitely go back to the gymnastics, being able to go on bars and touch it. And that's kind of why I really like working out, because I love that adrenaline, and I miss that competitive piece. I know that there's still like that gymnast side of me that's like just wants to live its life, you know? So something that is better now, I want to say something that is better now is that I have a bigger purpose, and I have found my purpose of just being able to advocate for the world, show people more about disabilities, and just bring awareness, educating others, because I think that's very important. And it's something that, because I learned and got my purpose at such a young age, I want to do all that I can and use this advantage of time to really enlighten and show so much light to it that I can bring out to the world. So
that's awesome. That's really awesome. So how would you encourage someone else that's going through something similar? Somebody that, you know, what would you have told yourself when this just started with what you know now?
That is, man, if I can go back to that girl in the hospital who was 14, who just found out their life is going to change forever, that they're going to be okay. I think that there's just so many times we get being in that hospital room by ourselves and not really knowing the future. It kind of shows with COVID too, having that uncertainty piece of like, what's going to look like right now, to just trust the process. take everything day by day. Take everything day by day. Don't pre-plan, because then if it doesn't go your way, you're going to get overwhelmed and discouraged. And just going through life at the pace that it's supposed to go. And it's also just like, it's how you write the story and how you hold that pen is really something that I just really encourage people with. I could have been at home doing nothing. I could have been not living up to my full potential, just staying at home, just on my phone, watching TV, Netflix, going to school, and then just coming back home and doing nothing. But I'm living a fulfilling life, and it's something that I know I wouldn't have gotten to this point in life had I been walking from that day. Yeah. Had I been completely fine, landing on my feet from that fall, I would have been definitely living life, but it wouldn't have been this inspiring. I wouldn't have touched these lives and made these changes to the world.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's something that's definitely, I definitely have to just reflect on day by day, because there's times where it does get discouraging. I don't want to tell anyone that it's not
all rainbows and unicorns.
It definitely is. It definitely is something you have to take day by day.
Yeah. So one of the goals that you set for yourself and accomplished at graduation is a big deal, and story got national attention. So tell us about that.
So I graduated. I was in the graduating class of 2019, and I always had this dream. I got injured 4 days after my freshman year. I was in the hospital for that entire semester going into my freshman year. So looking back at that, I set a goal for myself that I would walk across the stage to receive my high school diploma. And senior year came along, and I remember talking to myself about how I wanted to pursue this goal and how I've always wanted to train up to that point. And everywhere from sophomore, junior, senior year, I've been in rehab and trying to work for that, trying to build up that strength. And there's these braces that I put on my legs in therapy. They're called KFOs. So it's knee, ankle, foot braces, orthotics. So I put them on, and I'm able to use my lower hip muscles to kind of take individual steps. So I pivot and lean my weight on one leg, and then use the muscles to kind of swing my leg through.
Wow.
And that's something that I had a goal for, and I was trying to contract my muscles so that I can get those strong, so that I can make that walk across that stage. Because I can't quite remember how many feet long it is, but it was definitely something that's physically exhausting.
Right.
And at the time, I was very worried psychologically, because I was just like, they haven't seen me walk. What if they get this misconception that I'm fine again and that I'm going to be walking from here on out? But I was like, I made this goal. I've never let people's opinion and thoughts get ahead of me. And so I'm going to make it happen. And so on May 19th, 2020, I put my braces on. I had my walker, and I had my sister behind me just in case I were to have fallen. Just some extra precautions. So I walked across the stage. I got a standing ovation from everyone on my classmates, and then everyone's families. And it was just such a beautiful moment, because just to be able to hear people's encouragement, and they know what exactly I've been through.
Yeah.
And they know that it wasn't an easy journey. They see me in the halls. They know what kind of difficulties I hit in everyday life. But just for them to see that I was on my own 2 feet by myself, it was, I can tell that I could just feel all the good energy coming to me. And that's what physically got me through.
Yeah.
And I knew at that moment I had to stop and just to really enjoy this moment. So
soak it in.
I remember looking out to the crowd, because I was like, this is I'm not going to get this back.
Yeah.
I need to take it in right now. So that's exactly what I did. And after that moment, my entire life, it got a lot of publicity, and a lot of platforms were sharing it, like Good Morning America, Inside Edition, different others too. but it was definitely probably one of the highlights of my life so far.
That's
definitely
amazing.
a day that I look back at.
For sure. So one of the things that really hit me that you said was that you talked to yourself throughout that. And, just that kind of that positive self-talk that gave you more strength. Is that something that you do regularly?
Yes, absolutely. I think that we just need to really, us as humans, we all need to practice self-love to ourselves. It's something that I had to learn through the journey, especially, having to love a broken body. That was definitely something that was hard. But there's like so many things that I've encountered in life that have discouraged me, but I knew that I had to have that right mindset going into it of not letting this discourage me, not letting this take it further than where it is. But yeah, so it's definitely something that I think we all just need to work on. I read this quote of our longest relationship is with ourselves. So we need to learn to love ourselves. And we never think about having a really intimate, close relationship with ourselves because we want to serve others. We have this desire. Mm-hmm. But to really take care of yourself and practice this on a daily aspect is definitely something that I shoot for every single day and something that I advocate for because it's something that we just really have to practice.
That's amazing. So inspiring. Well, I want to end our time together with 5 rapid fire questions. So I'm going to ask you a few things and just give me a short answer. And I'm sure you will continue to inspire all of us with these. What's your favorite quote?
Ooh, my favorite quote. I would probably say, let your faith be bigger than your fear. Ooh. I love that quote. I love that so much because I had a lot of fears going forth that day. And if I didn't have faith, then I wouldn't be where I am.
Yeah, love it. Let your faith be bigger than your fear. Okay, so let's say you are getting ready for a big day. You got to get pumped up. You're going to go speak to the biggest crowd that you've ever spoken to. What song are you listening to get you pumped up?
Song? Oh, man. That's a good question. I would probably say, I can't remember the title, but it's I got this feeling inside my bones. I forgot who it's by, but
electric,
I love
baby,
that song.
When I turn it on. Oh yeah, my kids love that song. It's from Trolls. It's Justin Timberlake.
Yes.
Yep. Love it. Okay, what accomplishment are you most proud of?
Accomplishment that I'm most proud of. I always get these direct messages from parents who message me and they say, they explain the situation of their children getting recently injured from the same injury, same level. And they talk about my social media and they always show their kids that there is hope. And one thing that really stuck out is a message from a parent who said, you gave me hope for my child's future. Aww. And that above all the speaking engagements, above walking across the stage, making Good Morning America, that is my biggest accomplishment ever.
That is amazing. That just makes my heart fill up.
I know.
Very cool.
Doesn't it?
Okay. What are 2 things on your bucket list that you have yet to accomplish? 2 things you still want to do.
2 things. I want to travel by myself first I'm going to start small, but, eventually, I want to get to the point where I travel internationally by myself, completely, no one around with me. I plan everything. I just want to see where I can go and how creative I can get, especially from an international point of view of people not having this luxury of elevators of accessibility, true accessibility. So that's definitely one thing on my bucket list. A second thing, I want to try all adaptive sports. I have tried, that kind of athlete in me wants to just try everything and then get that competitive piece back in me. So I've tried adaptive basketball, adaptive soccer or power soccer. I have tried adaptive tennis, mono skiing on snow and water. And those are the 5 sports that I've hit. So I know that there's way more than that, and I can't wait to just be able to have some kind of experience in each sport.
That's awesome. Okay, last one. Finish this sentence. I am most inspired by...
I am most inspired by the disabled community. They have taught me so much from my life. There's like the biggest mentorships that I have gotten is from that community. They have inspired me in ways that has inspired others. And so being able to pass that knowledge along has kept me going. So it's definitely people that are strong-willed, who are goal-driven, and they're doing amazing things.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So Anna, tell us, you've got a Facebook page that people follow you on, right? How do we find you?
Yes. So I am on Facebook. I have a Facebook page at Pray for Annaboo, and I'm also on Instagram. That's kind of my main social media that I'm targeting. It's at Anna Sarol. So my last name is Sarol, Sarol. Right now I'm thinking about looking into that YouTube platform and being able to have a channel where I can bring more awareness and more in-depth videos of my life. But that's kind of something in the works of right now, but definitely something to look out for.
Cool. I love it. I love it. Anna, I am so grateful that you met with me on Zoom today. I love your story. You're so inspiring. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Trish. I really enjoyed this, and I'm so glad that I'm able to come on here.
That's great. That's great. And everyone, thank you so much for listening. I'm glad we were able to share Anna's story with you here on Reedy, Set, Grow.
The Reedy, Set, Grow podcast with Trish Reedy.